What is up, everybody? Bobby here, the Nintendo Guru. So let's just jump right into this. I had this idea of breaking down series and franchises and discussing my favorite things within that series. So today I wanted to talk about Animal Crossing. So I want to break it down, go item by item, all through the whole thing, and kind of just tell you my favorite parts of Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing has had many iterations across the board, starting from the GameCube to the DS to the Wii, straight on until we finally get to the 3DS. Now, potentially, we're talking about the Switch. But what is my favorite version of that? And it's got to be New Leaf. I think the thing is a lot of people go either GameCube or New Leaf. But for me, the main reason why New Leaf is so much more enjoyable than the rest is because they took all the great things from the GameCube, from the DS, from the Wii, and put them all into the 3DS version of the New Leaf. So my favorite villager by far is Bill. And the reason why is when I played that GameCube version, he was the first villager animal that when I walked out my doors, he was right there. He's a little brown duck. He just basically hung out with me all the time, and this weird connection formed. And then essentially I get the DS version, he moves in. I get the Wii version, he moves in. New Leaf, I had to buy him. I had to buy him off somebody.
That was a thing. I don't understand that, but whatever.
My favorite fish to catch in New Leaf has to be a stingray. And this comes from a good friend of mine, Jeffrey Mahoney. He basically, when I met him, it was through City Folk. He was 15 years old at the time, and we were playing, and he was so excited when he finally caught a stingray. And that excitement just forever. Every time I catch a stingray, I think about this little boy just screaming from the rooftops how he caught a stingray and how excited he was that he caught one finally. Of all the bugs that are in New Leaf, and there's a lot of them, trust me, my favorite has to be the Hercules beetle, just because A, it's valuable as all heck, and two, it's just really cool looking. It's just this big hulking beetle, and you think like the name, it kind of go side by side. Favorite fruit, I mean, this is a stupid thing, but I like peaches just because it seems like every time I've played, that was always my starter fruit. And I just got accustomed to it as time went on. My favorite character, now when I say character, I feel like we have villagers that run around, and then we have characters that are basically in every iteration, and they are the mainstays. They are the NPCs per se, where you just go and they do things, and they own stores, they sell you items, things like that. Brewster is probably my favorite. Brewster to me is a fantastic character because he's just real low key. I love coffee. He serves coffee. It's just got this cool little vibe to him, real chill. It's just a nice little area that you go into. And then eventually what I liked about New Leaf was you could actually go to work for him. And you can serve coffees to the different characters that come in, the different animals that come into the coffee shop. Always pretty cool. The thing that I liked about Brewster's though was, or the Roost, you go in to go visit Brewster, and there would always be, notoriously, there'd always be a character right by his side at the bar or at the counter drinking their coffee. So my favorite edition of 3DS's, of the special edition 3DSs they put out, has to be the new 2DS XL that came out. It was exclusive to Japan and exclusive to the UK. It did not come to the United States. Man, I think I'm going to try to buy this thing. I think I'm going to finally just import it. I was hoping that eventually it would come to the United States. Just never did. It's got a green shell. It's got a leaf kind of carved into it and stuff. Really cool looking 3DS. I love it. It's a 2DS. But I wish it would have came to the United States, so I'm going to have to reach out and try to import this thing. Of all the public works projects that was in the 3DS, mine has to be the Lighthouse. That has to be my favorite one of them all. Reason being is, when I played all the other versions, there always tended to be a lighthouse in it, and this took me back to the early GameCube version. The GameCube had a lighthouse, which, if you didn't know, you could actually, during the summertime, do a task for Tortimer where you had to actually go in turn the lighthouse on, turn the lighthouse off at night. I never completed that task. It's one of the tasks I never completed, but it always takes me back to that. So having the lighthouse in that game just took me back to a different time that I loved. My favorite version of all the Nook stores has to be, I believe it's called Nook and Go, if I'm not mistaken. Memory, if I'm wrong, I'll fix it. But it was always called Nook and Go, I believe. It's kind of like the 7-Eleven. And the reason why I liked that one was that was the first time in a game that like that store would stay open for long periods of time. Like until I think 10 or 11 o'clock at night, where most of the stores shut down at 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock, somewhere in there. This one just kind of stayed open for a very long time. So for me, it was always kind of nice to jump in and have this thing there that was always at my beck and call that I could go sell items. Of course, when retail opened, you kind of don't sell things to the Nooks anymore, but it's kind of cool. My favorite flower, man, the blue rose. I think because it's so difficult to get, but it looks so beautiful. It's just one of those roses that stand out. The gold rose, but that's really easy. Once you get the gold watering can, you just let a black rose wither, and then you just pour it, you water it with the gold can. Next day, it's a gold rose. Cool, but it's not my favorite. Definitely the blue rose. Favorite furniture series in the game, and it has to be the Astro series. It's this cool kind of neon color, like this neon orange with this classic white feel, and everything's kind of modern feeling and Astro. Like it feels cold, but like the colors are just really cool. I love it. I loved when you got the New Leaf, you could actually customize it. I believe it was a black and a blue, a neon blue. Really cool stuff, man. I loved it a lot. Favorite holiday. So when you played in the original game, I believe there were some holidays. You played in the DS, there was no holidays. They brought the holidays back for City Folk, and then they definitely brought them back full force in New Leaf. But Turkey Day. And the reason why I like Turkey Day the most is because Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday. Well, typically used to be my favorite holiday because we'd have these big family gatherings and all my cousins I hadn't seen in a long time would come. We'd hang out, we'd reminisce and talk and hang out. But in the game, the reason why is because you get to play like a hide and go seek with the turkey. The turkey's trying to hide so that way he doesn't get chopped. And you go hide and go seek, you're trying to find him, and he's hiding around the town and stuff. It's pretty cool. My favorite moment in the GameCube has to be the moment I paid off my loan finally from Nook. Coming off the train station to start, you run up there and here's this gigantic statue of your character. Just hanging out there, just sitting there at all the time. So everybody that ever came to visit or anybody that was ever in your town, they got to see this gigantic monstrosity that was yours. Essentially just because of the fact that like you paid it off and it was so cool. City Folk, they did something where they put a flagpole in front of your house. New Leaf, they really didn't do anything other than letting you unlock new items that you didn't have before. But I really enjoyed what they did with that statue. It was kind of like a showing off, this big trophy that you got. Favorite moment in the DS was shark fishing. I remember just one time I went away for a convention to Tampa Bay, and when I went down for this convention, I took my DS, and I was starting to get into Wild World a lot, playing it, and I remember waking up at 5 o'clock, even though I was at a convention and didn't have to get up until like 10 o'clock. I was just getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and from 5 till like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock when breakfast was, I would fish in the mornings, catching all these sharks and stuff, and I didn't realize that there were sharks in that game until that I woke up early and I saw these fins and I'm like, wait a minute, what is it? Is that a shark? And I started catching these sunfish and then eventually sharks. And it was just really such a fun moment that I loved that continued on in future iterations of the game. My favorite moment of the Wii. So this is kind of cool. The Wii came with this device called the Wii Speak, and it was something that Nintendo was going to lean into to kind of be like, hey, you could play with your friends or whoever, and it's a way for you to connect from living room to living room. And when you're playing, you had this little microphone that you set on top of your TV, and it would basically open up room to room. Now, the crazy thing is the quality of it was really good. You could hear perfectly what people were saying, whether they be in Midwest or Japan. And that was the coolest thing for me, was all of a sudden I started to meet these kids that were in Japan playing and didn't realize that like English is a major second language in Japan. So I'm talking English with these kids and they can talk back to me, and it was just so cool to interact. But the Japanese kids were so gracious and kind, and like you'd go over there and they would give you gifts and give you these Japanese exclusive items that you couldn't get anywhere else in the world. It was really cool, and I love that moment. My favorite 3DS moment has to be One time, my wife Tony, when we were married, we had gone to New York City. We were going up there for a Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze release on the Wii U. They were having this big event up there. And we went up there and we were street passing at Nintendo. It was called Nintendo World Store at the time. Now it's called Nintendo New York. But we go up there and we're street passing. We go back to the hotel room later that night and we realized the Upper Happy Home Academy had filled up with all these cool houses that you could go in and shop from now. It was an amazing moment, and we loved it so much. That was probably the be-all, end-all for street passing. That and Disney World. When we were going down to Disney World, I had spent many hours just walking through the Magic Kingdom and Epcot. Epcot was really cool. And the reason why Magic Kingdom and Epcot were so cool is because you would get a lot of foreign people. So you would get these region exclusive items in there. And it was kind of cool to have these different countries in your town. As you can see behind me here, I have every single Animal Crossing amiibo, but my favorite one has to be Kix right here. And the reason why Kix is just, of them all, I think his accessories, his flat cap, all these different things kind of suits well, and it looks really cool. I like that one the best of them all, and it's probably hands down my favorite. The thing I don't like about the Animal Crossing ones is they're very plain Jane. They're very normal. I wish they would have put them in poses or having them do something special, but they're all kind of stiff and boring, and I think that's another reason why they didn't sell that well. You know, it's just sadly just how it was. So that is all. Thank you guys for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please slap the like button down below. Share it with your friends. If you're not a subscriber, please, what are you waiting for? Subscribe, hook me up, help me out. We're going to continue this series. I don't know whether it's going to be a bi-weekly thing or if it's going to be like once a month. We'll see. It kind of depends on your response if you like this or not. But let me know down in the comments below, what's the next series or franchise that you want me to do my favorites video on. So that is all. Follow me Instagram, Twitter, @Nintendo Gurus. Peace out, Preston.